Hey everyone, I'm Charlie Dan with the chart guys. We're going to check in on crypto, Bitcoin, ETH. We know volatility is coming. Bulls are keeping their control. We know what our guides are. We'll revisit them. Bit of a shift underway in the crypto stock space. MSTR losing its spunk. Maybe not the right word. First things first, before we get to the charts, we are in the last week of our spring annual membership sale, posting a link to check it out. Chat room, community, full-time trader, question answering, resource, yada yada. All right, Bitcoin. So we know if Bitcoin's daily EMA 12 is support, the bulls have absolute complete control and we're not going anywhere. That's been the case for 6 weeks. The low of Sunday held it. The low of today held it. We have to lose it if anything's going to change. A lot of people, a lot of traders and non-traders alike will overanalyze things. They'll be looking for divergences. They'll be looking for resistances from 3 years ago, whatever, when you can just keep it really simple. And this is, I just love a chart where I can just make a definitive one sentence statement, and that's all the analysis I have to do. Bitcoin is all bull if daily EMA 12 is support. When we lose it, we take a step back. We say, okay, something's a bit different. And then we know that we need to pay more attention. But until that happens, nothing changes. I was saying the same thing about Tesla over the weekend. Tesla, daily EMA 12, bull flag. Daily EMA 12, bull flag. Bitcoin is in the same spot. Just hold it. If you like price levels better than moving averages, it's the low of 106.6 thousand. You can tell that crypto gets bored. You know, crypto bull, or the crypto Twitter is bored with this full bull control. They're happy with it, but they're bored in the sense that, you know, this dude with his $1 billion leverage positions or whatever is the talk of the town. When in reality, it's meaningless. It's just entertainment. It's the crypto soap opera channel for the last week. So I guess that's a good thing that we're not talking about the sky falling, but all-time highs or a break of 106.7 is going to happen this week, one or the other. The NASDAQ bulls are showing up in a big way to start the week. That's a potential daily bull flag. If that confirms, then we're talking all-time highs in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. Just absolute complete bull control on the day. And that's in response, headlines, EU tariffs, whatever. But great response. You know, the bears proved something in the short term for the first time last week, and it's very quickly erased. And we have NVIDIA earnings on Wednesday. So Wednesday, 4 p.m. after hours tomorrow, we could see some Bitcoin volatility in response to that. So just keep that in mind. But just a quick check-in on the broader market to say, yep, everything's great. Bulls just are seeing exactly what they want. There are no red flags. And now the simple statement is if the low of Friday holds, we're going to all-time highs. Bears would have to break that level for the first sign that anything is shifting in any meaningful way. As we know, the dominance chart, all we keep caring about for the last bunch of months is the weekly higher lows. And so if, again, ideal scenario, let's lay it out, Bitcoin stays strong or sideways consolidation, even if that's, you know, $110,000 to $100,000 range, sideways consolidation for a couple of weeks. If that were to happen, as long as this dominance chart sets a weekly lower high, that means the alt bulls are coming out to play. And the analogy that I gave over the weekend on Twitter with the Ethereum chart is that Ethereum is the general of alt season and the leader. And he's currently a washed up, drunk general, seen too many battles, life falling apart, but trying to, you know, is the underdog story for the movie, trying to get his life together, get his act together to lead for one more charge. And if ETH can break this daily equilibrium bullish, if ETH BTC, which is more important to me, If ETH BTC can get to fresh highs over where we just topped out, that is the heroic comeback story. Maybe we need his wife to get kidnapped or something to really light the fire. But you can see just the slightest not ideal scenario is the fact that ETH is just about testing this double top and ETH BTC is not. We ideally, if you're a bull, and we used to call it the spotlight, you want your BTC pairing to be doing the same thing or stronger. And ETH BTC is weaker than ETH USD right now. So we just got to recognize that and say, okay, that's not an ideal scenario. Doesn't mean it can't catch up, but just making note that ideally we would have ETH BTC testing the highs with ETH USD. So again, alt bulls really want to see a weekly downtrend confirm on the dominance chart. And we'll be watching if ETH rejects from this resistance, we can stay within this tightening range. Again, equilibriums are great for price action guides and to determine most likely scenarios, but they also are great for showing us when volatility is coming. And it's coming. We're either going to reject from resistance 2740 again and keep tightening up, which is always a possibility. And that could have us keep tightening up all week, and it could be a boring week. Or bulls keep their control to get back to that level. If I'm a bull, I don't necessarily just want to go straight up and break that level, because we would be a bit extended on some of these shorter term time frames. You know, the hourly RSI being at 80 right now. You know, if we break this double top on daily resistance with the hourly RSI at 87, then we're not going to anticipate too much follow through. And then we're going to have to start talking about a potential rising wedge. I would prefer if we head up, initially reject from that resistance, 4-hour bull flag, and then break out, essentially like a cup and handle type of pattern, just with the psychology where you reject from resistance, bears pile in again to top fish that resistance, you bull flag, you stop all the bears out, and you get another leg up with follow through. We want that follow through on a resistance break. With regards to crypto stocks, MSTR was the lead bull for a long period of time. Again, 6 months ago, I said, I think that the premium top is in for the cycle, and that's looking to be the case. And now the question is, are we forming a monthly lower high on this relationship, MSTR divided by Bitcoin? And again, you got big money is long Bitcoin and shorting MSTR. And I was long MSTY for the swing trade for the monthly high or low into May or into April. And I moved up my stop and I stopped out quickly here. And the reason I did that while very comfortably profitable is because that trade's starting to make a lot of sense to me. I think it's a good trade. And I think that premium is going to continue to erode. And we know that the miners in crypto stocks have done nothing. I mean, just throw them into the grouping with altcoins in terms of their performance over the last 6 months. But there are slight shifts. Last week, there was a day where MSTR, CLSK clearly stood out stronger than MARA, CLSK clearly stood out stronger than Coin and MSTR. That's the grouping. Again, I can't watch the entire crypto stock sector. I'm watching too many other things. It's MARA and CLSK, unless Riot does something to get my attention, but it's not at this point. And then Coin and MSTR. That's how I'm grouping these crypto stocks together. And we're seeing a shift out of MSTR into these miners. And again, it lasted 1 day last week, and only 1 day, and that's not enough. We need multiple days in a row. But you look at MARA divided by MSTR, and we could say that it's the strongest that has been. It's testing the strongest that it has been comparatively in the last 2+ months. That's significant. There is a shift underway. And so MARA, we're not breaking out. We had a double top Wednesday, Thursday of last week. It's a big green day. CLSK, same thing, not quite as strong. Again, just a quick rundown. How do I know who's the lead bull? MARA divided by CLSK. Okay, last 3 days, big bull move. Still overall sideways if you're zoomed out, but the last few days, MARA is gaining. MARA divided by Riot, Who's stronger? Again, today, big difference, but overall, still fairly similar. They're all doing very similar things. But it is the miners getting some attention, and we need this move to last multiple days. So again, you look at MARA divided by MSTR. We had a solid couple of bull days in there. This is the biggest bull day in 2 weeks in comparison, and we want to see, again, just like a chart pattern. You want to see this happen if we're going to get into breakout mode in these miners. MARA is hoping this is a quick weekly higher low to see bounce continuation. All this said, all that means is my focus is shifting on crypto stocks. It's still Bitcoin lead bull, but if I'm trading in the stock market world, I'm much less focused on MSTR and I'm much more focused on MARA, CLSK, and Riot at this point. And again, it's the exact same thing. Watching the shift, watching the relative strength and weakness, doing the comparisons. It's the exact same thing as watching for a shift from Bitcoin to altcoins. And it's happening sooner on the miners. They're more developed in this shift than a shift from Bitcoin to altcoins. But again, just another name, MARA, just all bull all day. NASDAQ definitely helping. But again, you compare it to Bitcoin. This is IBIT, not back to the high of pre-market. You compare it to QQQ, it did get over the high of pre-market. And we're way over the high of pre-market on MARA. There's a shift underway. Just got to keep an eye out and ensure that it continues. So we got ETH. Again, ideally, give me a triple top, bull flag, bull break. There's a bunch of altcoins that also have daily equilibriums. If we're going down the list real quick, INJ, trying to break to the higher high. Ape is a really nice daily equilibrium. High, low, lower, high, higher, low. Approaching resistance, very similar to ETH. Sushi's tightening up, but weaker. We're not knocking on the door of daily resistance at the moment. I like when we have the basis is a straight across daily equilibrium. We've got names that are stronger, that have already broken resistance, and we've got names that are weaker, and they drop to a lower low. XRP, slightly weaker, it dropped to a lower low. No major red flags. The bulls are still defending the upper 220s, but we could say it's a bit weaker because of that. Other names, tightening up on SHIB, ADA, just sideways ranges. These names, like a name like ADA, it's possible that Bitcoin sees another leg up to 114, 15, and ETH gets a bull break. But ADA, that just pushes us to 82, and we remain range bound. So the names that are weaker within these equilibriums, it's possible that we remain within the sideways ranges, even if some of these names do break bull. Binance stronger with that bull break. So here's a good example. Remember I was talking about Binance a good bit when it was really boring just because it was a beautiful weekly equilibrium. And that broke bull at 620. But here's a really nice example of a resistance level holding as a back test of support. So here's your weekly equilibrium resistance. We break above it, we back test and hold that resistance as support, and now we're trying to get continuation. So just a good example of flipping support and resistance. Everything's still strong. SUI, again, broke to a lower low, so it does stand out a little bit weaker. Anything that got that lower low. XTZ is a nice equilibrium, tightening up. ENS, following ETH to a certain degree, but it's a beautiful equilibrium. OP, beautiful equilibrium. So there's a bunch of them out there. Link. And bulls are hoping ETH can get its act together. And we're heading up to that resistance test right now. All right, I'm reading the chat room. Thanks for the likes and the shares. Again, the major takeaways, Bitcoin, ETH, Bitcoin, EMA 12, full bull control guide on the daily time frame. ETH, volatility coming. We're testing resistance. Ideally, we don't break resistance when we're really extended. We're going to know soon here. And watching for the rotation of altcoins, but we need that dominance chart to lose the weekly higher lows, and rotation of crypto stocks is underway. Is that an initial warning heads up for altcoin rotation incoming? That remains to be seen. I don't have any kind of, long-term cycle history to see that kind of relationship. But considering that I personally mentally have just lumped the Bitcoin mining stocks in with altcoins, and the fact that they're starting to show some life gets my attention a bit. So yeah, so red flag MSTR is tanking, says Daily Pizza, and I don't take it as a red flag. You can. That can make you cautious. I wouldn't say that's dumb or anything like that. But to me, it's just that rotation. And I expect MSTR to continue to underperform Bitcoin this year. Again, I think that top was hit. I lucked out in the sense that my MSTY trade benefited on that rotation again, where MSTR outperformed for a couple months. But I think it's over. We'll see. When do I use EMA 12 versus 26 in my trading? It's always 12. The only reason the 26 is up there is for crosses. But if you took EMA 26 off my screen, not much would change at all. Let's just say EMA 12 is 10 times more important to me than EMA 26. ETH not even in a weekly uptrend. I mean, a conservative trader is always waiting for trends, but there are plenty of times where I don't. GME, I had a day trade and I was in, I was not waiting for any day. It was a day trade for a 15-minute higher low, but now I'm still in this position into the momentum. And especially with crypto, there are many times where if you're not in on the momentum, you miss the move because you don't always get that nice and orderly trend change kind of action. That doesn't mean rush and chase. You got to be zoomed in and still doing your risk reward analysis and, this is my stop and all that. But you will find plenty of times. I mean, it's what the broader market is doing, right? The S&P 500, so many names V-shaped. And if you're sitting there waiting for a weekly trend change, it's, leaving you in the dust. But there's a time for being aggressive and being conservative. And if you're in conservative mode, there's nothing wrong with that. Hype. Definitely in breakout mode. So again, perfect example. If you're sitting there waiting for a weekly trend change, this name runs 400% without you. So you got to be zoomed in. I mean, the only way you get runner moves is if you're zoomed in. But again, another one, daily EMA 12 just keeps holding here. Daily consolidation underway, hourly. How have back burners been working? We haven't hit hourly oversold. I mean, that's just showing you bulls buying every short-term dip. 15-minute oversold. Zooming out for the back burner. So 15-minute oversold, marking the 4-hour higher low. So 4-hour uptrend guide. So 35.96 key support. If we break that, it is a confirmed 4-hour downtrend. We would then look to daily EMA 12 and hourly oversold if the 4-hour downtrend confirms. If it doesn't and we hold that level, then it's a quick bull flag. But definitely want to be a little cautious if that 4-hour lower high does shape up. All about 36, 35.96. But yeah, definitely a lead bull. That was a big leg up from 27 to 40 over the last week. KASUSDT. So bulls are hoping that the daily equilibrium shapes up like many other names that I just highlighted, but the fact that the daily bounce isn't underway for the clear higher low set means it is a little bit weaker. We didn't break support, so that's good. But again, many altcoins would be trading up here right now. So bulls need to get over 10.9, and then we're just going to treat it like a standard equilibrium, tightening up. But still got to get over 10.9 for those bulls. Bitcoin definitely a top watch due to its proximity to all-time highs and the dominant strength. Again, we're watching for signs of a shift, but it is not clear enough yet. MARA did go from lead bear to lead bull, but again, only on very short-term time frames here. If you zoom out, and that's the majority of arguments or disagreements that happen on social media and trading or whatever is just not specifying time frame. If I say MARA has a bunch of relative strength compared to MSTR, today, glaring. But you zoom out over the last 6 months, it's not even close. MSTR is blowing it out of the water. So that's just one suggestion, is always specify time frames to help communicate better and avoid misunderstandings. But yeah, I mean, into tomorrow, I'm watching these mining stocks for hourly higher lows. I'm watching Tesla for an hourly higher low. But those are a couple of setups that I'm keeping an eye out for. ETH definitely still watching. I think it's a 6 month equilibrium, 4 month. But yes, if we don't break 4,000, and again, it would need to be like, if we're going to go straight up and break 4,000 from here, then it's all seasons underway. It would be very glaring at that point. It is possible that we fail 4,000 and we just do this into the end of the year, but definitely going to be watching it. Because I have a position, I hope we break bull. If I didn't have a position, I always want equilibriums to get as tight as possible, because then the follow through is usually much more significant. I mean, I got all these stocks, CCJ, uranium, year-long monthly equilibrium, get as tight as possible, big follow through. Costco, get as tight as possible, huge follow through. ZB, ZBC, and USDT. Another lead bull, hourly oversold approaching. Did we get there yet? Nope. So keeping an eye out for hourly oversold to try and mark a daily higher low. Hourly downtrend guide in the meantime. So yeah, if I'm looking to play a bounce, I want this 15-minute stair step drop to keep going into hourly oversold, because that means the 5 and the 15-minute RSI would be approaching extremes into that hourly back burner. If I'm playing a bounce, whether it's a back burner or what, I always want the shorter term RSI levels as extreme as possible, because that tells me even if I'm wrong about a daily higher low being set, I likely will at least get a short-term bounce to do some positioning with. AVAX, again, just smoothing this out. I'm still just viewing this as an equilibrium. The higher low is set, but I would still be viewing anything under 26 as a lower high. And you can go to the 2-day time frame to just condense it down a little bit and smooth it out. 2-day equilibrium tightening up. I think Pepe was doing the same. No, Pepe's a different view. Same thing with daily EMA 12. Got to be cautious of head and shoulders. I don't love the look here just in terms of clarity for me and my style. You know, I don't have an equilibrium. It's like I know the most likely scenarios. Set up like this. Go to the 2-day, condense it down. Again, just need to be cautious. We still got the higher lows. We still got the uptrend. Just got to be cautious that we don't head and shoulders. There's been a few head and shoulders that have not materialized in altcoins over the last 2 weeks. And we were looking at a bunch of possible equilibriums. Nope, a bunch of possible head and shoulders that did not follow through. CRV was one of them. Was watching this one. Just got to be careful. Don't be head and shoulders. It wasn't. It was negated. Same thing again. Got to be careful. But bulls are doing a good job of negating those ones. So Pepe bulls hoping for the same. Do I consider AVAX ETH a weekly bull flag with no follow through? No. It's still, it hasn't confirmed yet. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't call it a weekly bull flag because for me, this is the too much price action. I zoom out. It's a monthly bull flag attempt. And it's trying to confirm. We got to get over this high to say that the bull flag has confirmed. So if it were going to be a bull flag with no follow through, we would need to break that level right into weekly consolidation. PLTR was a weekly bull flag with no follow through. Higher low, higher high. Well, I wouldn't even say no follow through yet because it's weekly inside bars. But if the weekly inside bars break bear and we go right into weekly consolidation after confirming a bull flag, that's a bull flag with no follow through. You want multiple candles if you're going to have follow through. All right, a couple more here, then we'll take one more look at ETH. BCH, again, it's doing its own thing in terms of the setup. We're trying for a daily higher low. Must hold 407. Bulls need to get over 429. Again, there's a lot of altcoins where we just essentially we're at a point right now where altcoins need alt season to be shaping up over into this summer. Because again, if it's not, we're going to set monthly lower highs in a lot of altcoins. And you just got to be prepared for it because you better believe that when BCH was up 120%, can you imagine how many people were not even considering a monthly lower high as a possibility there? So we need the dominance chart to lose weekly higher lows and top out if these alt bulls are going to have a chance at breaking resistance. And we need big volume to come in too. Because otherwise, a chart like this is just looking for a monthly lower high. With just looking for a monthly lower high with tons of space. Still a daily uptrend. So again, daily EMA 12. We just established a base of support at 92. Now a new support at 101. We've got resistance at 120 and 139. So bulls are maintaining the daily higher lows. Again, you could do the same thing as Bitcoin. Bulls are okay. As long as daily EMA 12 is support, I don't have anything to worry about. If we lose it, weekly consolidation is likely going to get going. One more look at ETH. So just under resistance, a bit extended. If we fail, we want a 4-hour bull flag. Because the further we pull back on a failure at resistance, The more everybody's going to be talking about a triple top, the more it's possible that we pull back and maintain a sideways daily range for another 3+ days. So that's what we're watching into tomorrow for ETH. I've been doing garden tours in my broader market weekly videos at the end of them. Can't do it on live streams. Got to be recorded videos. All right, bulls still in control. Keep an eye on those miners. Hourly higher lows, most likely scenario for next consolidation. Tons of space for it to form in an ideal world. We're not in a blue sky, or we're not in a back burner setup for a name like MARA, but that doesn't mean we can't keep an eye out for those characteristics, meaning I want 5-minute oversold to mark an hourly higher low on MARA. Look at QQQ this morning, 5-minute oversold, first thing. That's our hourly higher low. So you want to see the back burner characteristics. We're not going to label it a back burner because it's not the overlying criteria for that to be the high probability setup. It doesn't mean it can't still exhibit the characteristics. All right. Appreciate you all watching. Establish those game plans for when it's time to look at the alts. And again, you want ETH to be leading the way. You want the dominance chart to be falling. You want Bitcoin to be trading sideways. Ideally, what often happens, last thing here, what often happens is you'll get Bitcoin going into weekly consolidation. Let's just say we top out here. Again, there's no sign of daily EMA 12, but let's just say we top out. We pull back to weekly EMA 12. When that happens, alts dump too. And instead of buying the Bitcoin weekly higher low, the better play is buying the alts when Bitcoin is forming a weekly higher low. Because that's when the rotation takes place. And then maybe Bitcoin trades sideways for a few weeks while the altcoins get rotation. That's how it's transpired many times in the past, where the best entry for alts is after the Bitcoin dump and then hoping and anticipating that Bitcoin's going to then trade sideways. And when Bitcoin bounces from the weekly higher low to begin its range-bound trading, the alts bounce much more significantly. Do good things. See ya.